The new American passenger ships meant that facilities improved beyond recognition for passengers, including steerage passengers. There were hot meals, medical help, and separate sanitary and sleeping facilities for men and women. But the journey must have been frightening for many, as most knew they would not see their family, or certainly their parents, alive again. Later on, in the 20s and 30s, some immigrants who had the means did make return journeys for holidays, but they were in the minority. Between embarking at Cove and disembarking in New York, Boston, or Philadelphia, a document known as a ship's manifest, a list of all passengers on board and details about them, had to be filled in and signed for by crew. These manifests offer a wealth of genealogical information: the home address of the immigrant, their appearance, height, how much money was in their possession, and crucially for genealogists, where they were going in the United States. Everybody had to have a sponsor who could claim them in the language of the day. In other words, each immigrant had to have someone who could vouch to look after them until they got on their own 2 feet in their new home. Another question appearing on the manifest, which is often very useful for researchers today, is whether the immigrant had been to the United States before, and if so, what were the dates of their arrival and departure. One of the big concerns of the Ellis Island authorities was that an immigrant would simply slip out into the streets of the city and become a burden on the public purse. Those who did not meet the standard required were detained for questioning or until their sponsor could come and collect them. If an immigrant arrived with a through ticket for Chicago, the authorities wanted him or her on that train as quickly as possible. This was the hidden part of the emigration journey. Scranton, Pennsylvania, a destination for thousands of Mayo people in these years, was about 120 miles from New York City. The train ride took 6 hours. Think then of the emigrant arriving in Ellis Island, tired, frightened, maybe excited, overwhelmed, and bound for Chicago, Denver, or Butte, Montana. Chicago is 750 miles from New York. Butte is 2,260 miles from New York. Once they arrived at their relative or friend's home, the task of finding a job and starting their new lives began. And at home, the first American letter, often with its monetary support tucked inside, was eagerly awaited by those they had left behind.